Welcome, startups, jury members, and attendees to the live pitch event from the Vesalius Innovation Award from Karger Publishers. My name is Cindy Spelt, and I am your moderator today. I need to go to my next slide. Okay, so let me explain you a little bit more about the award. For those that are not familiar with it yet, it is all about innovations. It's all about startups, thinking about new ideas, new projects within the health science ecosystem, and then all related to communication and publishing. We have sponsors that I like to really thank that have been supporting us throughout this whole process. First of all, it is TNQ Technology. Thank you for being our gold sponsor, and STM. Now, there is something about STM. I would like to let you know that on the 7th of December this year, STM will be hosting an event where they will announce the winners, so the first winner and the two runner-ups of this live pitching event. So you can mention that in your agenda. It's the 7th of December. Let me thank our jury members. The jury members are here today with us, but I have to let you know that they're not only here to ask questions today, but they also have been involved with mentoring and coaching throughout a couple of months. So thanks a lot to all these jury members that have been so dedicated and so motivated, helping the startups move forward. And what is super important in an ecosystem like that is the collaboration between very highly experienced people from institutions, corporates, and experienced startups collaborating together with the startups. So thank you for being so much involved and motivated, helping to move this space forward. Who are the finalists? We have 5 finalists. You have probably already seen them on the website, but let me please present them once again. We have ECG 24/7, Nested Knowledge, Sorcero, Side App, and Piloxa. They have been chosen from a very big group of startups that have been participating in this program. So congrats and a big shout out to the 5 finalists. Let me talk you through the program of today. We have the 5 finalists pitching during 5 minutes. When the 5 minutes are over, the jury is coming, putting their cameras on and their microphones on, and then the question round will start. We take around 10 minutes for this, and my experience is that we can take around 3 questions. And of course, that's not enough, because I think the startups and their presentations will be super, super inspiring. So my suggestion is that when you have more questions, and also for the attendees to join us after 5 o'clock, because then we have organized a great networking lounge. It is called Wonder Me, where we have a room where you can meet the startups again and engage with them. It is also good to mention that we are recording this event. So for the ones that have signed up with your email address, you will receive this recording, and you will also receive the contact details of the startups if you want to engage with them even more after the event. Now, without any further ado, I would like to kick it off with our first startup, who is Sorcero. So I'm going to switch my camera off now, and I'm going to give the rights to Deepan Vita for starting to present. Let me find you. I have to go through a long list of attendees. Oh, there you are. Okay. I can see you. I think everybody will. We don't hear you yet. Can you put your microphone on? I do not hear you yet. I will unmute you. So you have to put the microphone on.
Not yet. Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, it's working. Very, very good.
Fantastic. And you can see my screen.
We see your screen. We don't see your camera. You can also switch camera on if you like, but it's not a necessity.
I would like to, but I seem to have lost the panel, which would allow me to do that. But
Okay.
how
No
about
worries.
we get started in the interest of time? I want to be respectful of this opportunity. Good morning. My name is Dipanita Das. I am the CEO and co-founder of Sourcero, and I want to say a big thank you to the organizers for having us here today and for also accommodating my insane schedule. So I really, really appreciate the opportunity. At Sourcero, we're transforming scientific engagement with real-time language intelligence. Today, we live in an era of exponential information growth. And one of the fastest growing bodies of content in both volume and complexity are in life sciences and healthcare, where this healthcare data alone is growing at a CAGR of 36% every year. The challenge this presents us is that scientific content, while incredibly valuable and while it contains the vast majority of our knowledge as human beings, is also written in a specialized language that takes decades of human subject matter expertise to turn into something useful and to turn it into value. Software, unfortunately, does not come with that expertise built in. However, this also presents an opportunity for publishers such as yourselves who can turn this explosion of scientific content from being life sciences' greatest challenge into their greatest asset, driving both innovation as well as competitive advantage, largely in three big buckets. One is supporting the delivery of real-world evidence in support of drug commercialization, supporting regulatory and compliance across in vitro diagnostic regulations, medical device regulations, and so forth, using scientific content. And then last, and most interesting in some ways, is the delivery and the support of precision medicine and of personalized healthcare. To solve this problem, Sourcero has built the one platform for life sciences content analytics. Our platform is an end-to-end solution, both presenting a way of ingesting and consuming scientific content from a multitude of sources in a multitude of formats, and then delivering 5 key solutions that can be consumed to make better decisions across life sciences. First is intelligent literature monitoring. Second is IVDR and MDR compliance. Third is medical guideline management. Fourth is the delivery of medical insights. And fifth is medical information and education. Today, I'll be talking about our first 3 solutions, which are most relevant to you and your business. Sourcero's intelligent literature monitoring is designed to enable our customers and users to be able to monitor the literature that is most pertinent to their immediate work at a 1,000% increase in literature review volume. We are able to give access to a unified repository of over 20 sources, 39 million abstracts, and 7.2 million full text articles. And our customers are continuously adding new sources to this repository so that their analysis is more on point. Through this analysis, we offer them auto summaries, data enrichment, and advanced analytics, such as scientific share of voice and therapeutic area scientific share of voice, to really understand how they're pushing the field forward. IVDR is designed to support in vitro diagnostic regulations companies to monitor the performance of their device, a form of post-market surveillance. Our customers are able to not only comply with new EU regulations, but actually understand how their devices are performing in market vis-a-vis their competitors and make decisions that go back to their vigilance teams. Third, we're able to turn peer-reviewed journal articles and literature into real-time medical information subscriptions in the form of newsletters. One of the things we did when the pandemic first hit us was create a vaccine navigator. Our Give to the World, this became a very, very popular newsletter for our customers to be able to understand the full scope of vaccine development and research work that was happening the world over and know what to engage with. Next is our medical guideline management application. This enables our users to really stay up to date with the ever-changing medical guidelines in the market. In real time, they're able to tell exactly what has changed between guideline 1 and 2, and then how that impacts their clinical decision trees. Overarchingly, we turn scientific content into breakthrough assets to transform patient care, because at the end of the day, we're in service of the patient and making sure that they're getting the absolute best care that they possibly can, and supporting the caregivers in making those great decisions. The result, of course, is breakthrough performance. Sorcero's platform delivers not only lower costs and exponential productivity gains for products serving life sciences, but we increase medical guideline management productivity 1,000%, decrease literature monitoring time by up to 90%, and increase capacity to track portfolio products 3,000%. Our leadership team has built platforms that transform global markets and billions of lives. My background is the intersection of public health policy and technology, where I've worked extensively in tobacco control and road safety. Our chief commercial officer and co-founder both grew revenue and at data science-driven startups, driving innovation in scientific fields. Our CTO and co-founder, Walter Bender, not only co-founded the MIT Media Lab, but also invented the category that we now know as personalized content. And our VP of engineering has known to scale large-scale analytics platforms beyond $1 billion. Supported by an incredible team of engineers and life sciences experts, we're Sorcero, and we're in the business of delivering language intelligence for life sciences. Thank you for the opportunity to present to you today.
Wow, that was an amazing pitch. Thank you so much. Also
Pleasure.
within the time, so very, very well done. I would like now to ask the jury to show their videos and put their microphones on. Hi, Stephanie, we have you here. Roger, Phil, Shanti, yes, they're all coming in. Very, very good. Yes, we see you. Very nice. Thank you so much. So the question round is starting. We have around 10 minutes for this. As a jury, they have been preparing themselves as well for this question round. And I know that Phil, can I give you the floor to ask the first question, please?
Absolutely. Can you hear me? Can you hear
yes,
me, Cindy?
we do. Yes.
Excellent. All right. So that was a great presentation. Thank you very much. So certainly in the first presentation that I saw of yours in the original pitch, I saw a slide that had that showed an article and there was a number of words that were highlighted. And it's the sort of thing that I've seen from quite a few different companies, quite a few different startups in the past doing similar sorts of things. So my question to you is the stuff that you're doing interesting from a technological point of view, around breakthroughs in natural language processing, machine learning, AI, and so forth, is really the secret sauce that you have to do with your customers, your target market, your use cases, or your partnership strategy?
Thank you. That's an excellent question. It's one we actually love answering because we have changed how we operate. So Sorcero is in service of our customers. We only build things that our customers want and use. Technology is a lot of fun and it can be very cool, but if it doesn't solve real world problems, it's fairly meaningless to us. The kind of work that we're doing right now is not about highlighting words or running an entity recognition model. It's about identifying what parts of published literature or clinical trial data our customers really need to understand. So we go well beyond words into concepts. We extract clinical workflows out of medical guideline documentation that are used by MD PhDs every single day. And our clinical decisioning that's built into our IBDR solution now outperforms what a human being can do. So our experts are now relying on us to help them make sure that they are not missing anything critical about their device performance that is embedded in that part in those post-market regulation studies. So yes, this is very much about solving business problems. Any and all technology we may have is only being built and delivered because it solves a business problem and not because it's technology in and unto itself. However, we do build our own AI services in that we're not relying on Microsoft or Amazon or any of the other corporate services to deliver what we do. It is built in-house and it is transparent and auditable end to end. and it presents 100% sensitivity and a 99% accuracy to our customers, without which they will not use us in a production environment.
Very well, thank you, thank you. I also have a question prepared by Dan. Dan, would you like to ask the next question?
It's easier if you read it out for me, please, because I don't have it in front of me.
Okay, I don't have it in front of me either, so I will be prepared for that for the next startup. Is there another jury member that wants to ask a question?
May I?
Britt, yes, please go. Sorry, Dan, about this.
It's Mickey. Yeah, it's okay to
Mickey,
ask.
okay, okay, Mickey, I don't see you here.
I don't know why my camera is on and it showed it before. I don't know why it's not showing it now.
Okay, no problem. We hear you. So Mickey, go ahead.
That's good. So is it iterative? So if I got certain responses the first time and then I sort of mark them, the next time it won't show me, etc. And it's sort of, is there sort of iterative process to the preferences of a certain customer, let's put it?
Yes, so there are three key parts to know. The way we get to precision is we marry some of the deep learning language models with ontologies, both private and public ontologies, to make sure that starting out the gate, what you're looking at is at least at an 82 to 88% precision. And we do that on our end, and we have medical experts on staff who double check the performance of the algorithms. Once it touches our customers, there are two things our customers experience. One is our patented validation workflow, where a human subject matter expert is able to turn down or accept a suggestion that's coming from the software itself. Second, they can absolutely do a thumbs up, thumbs down, and you will not see that suggestion again. However, it is important to also note that we're not a search tool. We're actually being used to do work every day, and it's form of a workstation. So this is more training our AI to get from about an 88 to that 98, which is that last mile. But yes, if you ever say no to something, you're not going to see that again.
Good, good. I will take a last question. Dan, I have your question, so I will read that. But before I do so, I would like to let the next startup know that ECG 24/7 after this question round will be the next startup presenting. So Tord, you can get ready with your screen, and as soon as we give you the presenter mode, you will be live with us. So last question, Dan, I have found it. So let me read it. It's about the medical guidelines. Is that correct?
Exactly.
Okay. So, although they are not legally binding, they provide decision making that is generally followed. In case Saucero lands at a different, even slightly different recommendation based on its AI approach than a guideline, how do you protect yourself against liability?
Such a good question, and thank you for asking that. So we do this in two ways, and it kind of goes back to my answer to the earlier question. So the way we do it right now is our customers are the life sciences companies. We are not directly delivering to the clinician, partly for this very reason, because we care deeply about patients and we do not believe that an AI is going to supersede a physician in the foreseeable future. So what happens right now is that we provide our medical guideline management solution to our customers in the life sciences company, who then provide that to their healthcare provider and key opinion leader contacts and networks through those conversations that medical affairs have with them. So they are providing information about their drugs and products and therapies along with the guidelines bundled together. Or the guidelines are popping up as a part of their diagnostic software. So there is a big gating item here between us and the patient, or us and the healthcare provider, in the form of our customers who are the life sciences company. And this is also why we've chosen to work with the pharma side of the business rather than directly with providers, because they have those experts in-house to make sure that what goes to the patient is never wrong.
Very, very good. Then I really like to thank you, all of you, the jury and Dipanvita, for joining us for this presentation round. You must be running back now to your other meeting. So thank you. That's startup life. We're having lots of different things to do at the same time. Thank you so much. We will now ask the jury to switch their, you too, switch the cameras off and microphones, as we will give them the floor to Tord, who will be presenting ACG 24/7. And there we go. Roger, you can also switch it off, please. The camera, yes, perfect. Tord, we see you and we see your presentation, and as soon as you will start talking, I will do the 5-minute count. Enjoy.
Thank you very much. My name is Tord. I'm the CEO. I'm one of the founders of the medtech company Absence. We have developed this innovative heart monitoring device system, ECG 24/7. This is my mother, and this is from a Norwegian national newspaper article, putting focus on atrial fibrillation and stroke. When my mother was 15, she got a blood clot on her eye, and she was immediately diagnosed with atrial fibrillation. And she's been on blood thinning medicine ever since. And she has now turned 81, and she's at a good health. She was lucky. And why is that? She was lucky because it could have been a stroke. And how is stroke connected to atrial fibrillation? When the upper chambers of the heart are not in sync with the lower chambers of the heart, you allow for a blood clot to be formed. And the blood clot can travel via the blood vessels all the way up and block important parts of the brain. And then you have a stroke, then you have a catastrophe and a large burden for the society. You have as many as 14 million strokes every year worldwide. And 1 of 3 strokes are caused by atrial fibrillation. And many people with atrial fibrillation are unaware because they have no symptoms. And that's what motivated us to develop ECG 24/7. We were CE approved and on the Norwegian market late last year. It consists of a sensor that automatically detects arrhythmias or irregularities with the algorithms, and the user or the patient is immediately notified by the mobile application. And the ECG data is automatically uploaded in a safe storage in the cloud, easily accessible for the doctor. And the benefits are clear. It's easy to use. You can put it on yourself for self-testing. It's affordable so that we can reach out to a bigger group of people at risk. It's efficient. You are immediately notified of any arrhythmias, and the ECG data is immediately available for the doctors. It's noise shielded so that it can be used during normal physical activity. And it's pandemic suitable. You, as a user, can receive it by postal mail so that you don't have to go to the hospital or see the doctor. And finally, you can take a shower with the sensor. So it's much easier to do a long-term continuous monitoring of your heart rhythm, which is very important for ECG procedure. The clinical evidence is, of course, important. We have a successful ECG quality clinical study completed as part of the CE approval. And we've just finished a Holter comparison study where we compare ECG 24/7 to the gold standard Holter apparatus. And the article has just been accepted by the Journal of Healthcare Engineering, and we expect a publication very soon. We can, however, disclose that the results is very in favor of ECG 24/7, so we look forward to that. And we also have an AF study ongoing, and this is actually, as far as we know, the first contactless atrial fibrillation screening study that is conducted worldwide. And it's organized by major university hospitals in Norway. And we also have a arrhythmia investigation after hospital discharge trials ongoing with the Italian hospital group GBM, Care and Research, and a few other interesting studies in the pipeline, supported by large pharmaceutical companies. So please join us, saving lives and preventing stroke by early detection of atrial fibrillation. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Tord. It was an amazing presentation and an amazing project. Congratulations on that. Can I ask the jury to join us, please? And the first two questions, I would like to give them, I have two ladies, Brit and Shanti. Can I start with Brit? Brit, do you like to ask the first question?
Yes, thank you. I think this is a very interesting application that you have made. But what I would like to know, for whom would you recommend it? Only for patients who already have had an episode of atrial fibrillation, or for people who have risk factors, and have you a plan for identifying them? And the next part of the question is, who is receiving the results? And how should the follow-up of the patient be planned? Have you thought about those things?
Yes, thank you. First question, who is the main target group? The main target group is, of course, the persons at the risk for severe arrhythmia. And atrial fibrillation is, of course, a very important and severe arrhythmia. So all people above risk, and when you look at European guidelines, people above 65 years of age, and then you have a number of additional risk factors such as diabetes and earlier stroke and so on. So it's the main target group is, of course, the elder people that are of risk. But of course, there's a number of people also in maybe between 40 and 65 that are feeling that they have some kind of irregularity, and it's also a very good way to have an offer, and also some kind of something to that group of people as well for the health personnel. And the second question is who's going to look at the results? It's we have a portal which is designed for medical personnel, physicians, heart specialists, but of course you as a user or patient, you also get information directly in the mobile application, and you are allowed to see your own ECG results. But the notifications are normally if there are any regularities or not, and if there are any possible arrhythmias detected, you are getting the advice to contact your physician or your heart specialist.
Very good. Thank you so much. Before we take the next question from Shanti, I would like to let Andrew know from Side App that after this round of questions that you will be the next startup up. So Shanti, your question is about business expansion, isn't it?
Yes, thank you, Todd. It was a very clear and very simple presentation. Thank you. Two questions. One came up as I was listening to you. So one is, what's your plan of expansion? I see you're doing some international study. My question was more about your algorithm. Does it require a different training or something before you expand to your international market? Second question is, are you learning from the data? What kind of learning you're having from your current deployment use cases? What are you learning? Those are my questions.
Thank you. Well, the first question is expansion. We are now present in the Norwegian market, and we have about 150 customers being physician offices. We have heart specialists and hospitals. But of course, this is a global product and a global service. So we are really looking to Europe and rest of the world. And at the moment, we have done some steps in Italy. So we have this hospital doing trials and testing out the systems, and we're also in dialogue with a number of German hospitals. So we are hoping to get the different kinds of hospitals to start testing the equipment, and then we get the feedback. And I think that's a good way to enter these markets to get the support and the validation from the hospital and the heart specialists in the different countries. And the other question is, of course, about how we can offer this kind of sensor and service to consumers, and how we're going to make sure that this is easy enough for consumers to use it. And I think that's one of the main advantages with this system. It's so easy, so that you as a private person can go to the pharmacy store and you can buy the sensor and you can do the testing. And if there are any findings, any arrhythmias detected, then you can go to the doctor and you can easily share the data, the ECG data with the doctor, to further analysis or diagnosis and so forth. And the third question was how we use the data. We are working on AI. We have implemented different AIs, and I think it's too early to say how successful the use of AI is. We know that our algorithms is precise enough, but we always want to improve, maybe trying to reduce the false positive even more than what's today, and also trying to even better separate noise from normal heartbeats and ventricular heartbeats. So I think we are gathering all the data, of course, with the consent of the users and our clients, but we hope that we can use all this data together with AI and improve our algorithms, and maybe later, of course, offer this kind of information to scientific principles or governments, of course.
Thank you so much, Tord. I have room for one small question. Is there a jury member that we have not heard yet that would like to? Can I take Stephanie, Mickey, just so that Stephanie also has a moment? Thank you.
Hi, Tord. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. A question that just spontaneously came up for me was how close are you to having the product, the range of false positives low enough that you could really sell this to a wider market, to a lay person market who would buy it at their pharmacy? And I mean, if you give too many false positives, you'll create large amounts of anxiety. People will be running to the doctors. You might open yourself up to some liability. Do you feel like you're very close to that point, or do you feel like you still need some testing with hospitals and a doctor in the middle?
No, thank you for the question. It's that's really where we feel that we have something new to offer. Of course, this is a very huge market, ECG procedures, and there's a lot of technology and providers out there. But I think one of the important features we're bringing into this is, of course, that we have noise shielded patents, so that there's a lot of noise that we can handle. So we have a very few. We have managed to reduce the false positive, and we've been very, of course, very aware of that. If we come up with a device and if it's too many false positive, we're not getting the trust that we need. So what I can say is, from the 1,000 persons that has been through the clinical study at the ongoing AF study, is that at the moment we are at the false positive rate for atrial fibrillation as only 6%, and that's far below other technologies being used today. So we are very happy about what we're doing so far on the false positive, and there's no false negative. So I think we are really in a good position, and I think if we can even improve the low number of false positive we had today with AI, I think we're going to be in an even better position. So we are very satisfied and happy about where we stand in that perspective.
Very, very good. And yes, indeed, you can be very satisfied. I'd like to thank you, Tord, for being with us today. Also, congrats to the rest of the team members. I see the pictures here as well on the screen. It has been, of course, a group effort, so congrats to the whole team. I would like to now ask the jury members to leave us again. Thank you for your questions, and then we will go to Andrew from SiteApp. Andrew is here. Hello, Andrew.
Hi, Cindy.
Yes, we see you and we see your presentation. So as soon as you're ready, the floor is yours. Enjoy.
Well, thanks very much. So my name's Andy Chalmers. I'm one of the co-founders and the CEO of SiteApp, and I want to really explain to you today how SiteApp is helping both researchers and suppliers accelerate science. And starting really at the beginning of this journey was when I was running my own lab. We encountered a problem, which is how to find the right antibody for your experiments. So these are life science researchers. They spend $1 or $2 billion a year on research antibodies, and most of the ones that are purchased, or at least about half the ones that are purchased, are not fit for the intended use. And this is, I think, leads to a massive waste in research funding, but also in most importantly in time, and slows down progress. And so the way SiteApp helps address this problem really starts with looking through scientific publications, and of course researchers will carry out their experiments. They'll write up the methods and describe the products that they've been used, and this is largely unstructured, and we identify the products and turn it into structured data. And we do this using our own tech that we've developed, and it combines really AI-driven text mining, but also really extensive human reviewing. And we're talking about millions of full text articles and searching for maybe 5 or 6 million or 6 or 7 million antibodies. And then coupling with this with the really extensive human reviewing is essential, because then it assures the quality of the citation data that we're producing. And that's important because we use that to help researchers, and because it powers our search engine, which provides a really simple way for researchers to find antibodies for their experiments. Every product is ranked by the number of citations, so they can quickly see those where there's supporting evidence from their peers. And then they can delve in and look at supporting information, and now look at published images and evaluate those antibodies and help them decide which ones to purchase. And as I mentioned, our data is also helping the suppliers. So these are the companies that sell to these life scientists. And if you think about the data we're collecting, what we're doing is we're building a picture of all of the antibodies, the research antibodies that the scientists are using, who makes them, what target the antibodies are raised against, how many times they've been used, and right down to which countries and institutions are using them. And that's really powerful. So many of the suppliers are using our data for their strategy, product development, and marketing. And also because the citations are really high quality, and now the images, they can pipe those straight onto their websites, again, helping inform researchers and drive sales. So that's the way we help the suppliers. And of course, Cindy mentioned, none of this is done without a really great team. We're a small group. We've got really focused expertise in biology, in the computer science, and then also in the commercialization and startups and scale-ups. And we're proud of what we're doing, and we think we're doing a good job. We've got a global and growing user base of scientists. So we're getting about 60,000 users a month. These come from universities across North America, Europe, and Asia, China, Japan, for example. And also, of course, the pharmaceutical and biotechnology companies that are doing large amounts of preclinical research will use SiteApp to help them find the research antibodies that they need. The other measure of our success is that the individuals that have had real value out of the antibody data have been asking about other reagents. And of course, there's a wide range of different product types, different reagents that life scientists use. And so we've gradually expanded our data capture out into biochemicals, into kits, cell lines, proteins, and some equipment. And this broadens the range of people that we can help. But what I think is really exciting for us is that we're really at the beginning of a journey, and that there's so many different types of reagents and so much data on those reagents that we can collect, but also just so many researchers and suppliers across the world that we can help, that we really feel we're just really beginning to scratch the surface of the amount of researchers and suppliers we can help to accelerate their science. And of course, pandemic has really put that into perspective and shown just how important it is for us all to do our bit in terms of helping researchers and suppliers progress as quickly as possible. So finally, I just want to thank Karger for putting on such a great awards, Cindy for the excellent looking after us all of the judges and the fellow finalists and everybody that's listening.
Thank you, Andrew. That was an amazing presentation. Very, very well done.
Thank you.
Super. So now it's time for the question round, and I would like to ask the jury to jump in with us again. And also letting Francesco from Piloxa know that after this round of questions that he will be the one next presenting. I have not heard Eefke yet, Roger and Gabriella. I'm not so sure if you like to kick it off with a question for now. Who of you has a question for Andrew? Roger, yes. And Eefke, do you also have one? You will be next then, Eefke. Then we start with Roger.
Thank you, Andrew, so much for that presentation. It's very, very interesting work that you're doing. I'd like to ask you a little bit about why you're scoping the work in the way that you are around antibodies and reagents specifically. If you think about the opportunities to mine the scientific literature in the way that you're doing from the perspective of materials and supplies for laboratory scientists, et cetera, what's the rationale for scoping it in this way? And a related question, there are others doing large-scale analytics against the scientific literature for those purposes, and others beyond just supplies and materials. I could think of some of the work that Meta did several years ago, some of the work that ResearchGate is apparently doing now. Can you say a little bit about the sort of scoping from that perspective as well? Thank you.
Yeah, no, I think it's a really, really nice question, and there's clearly a lot of people doing really cool things in terms of mining the literature and generating insights. And I think for us, the real scope came from because it was a very specific problem that was affecting large numbers of life science researchers that actually came from when I was running my own lab, and it felt like a really terribly inefficient way of for each research lab to be individually looking through publications and trying to decide which antibodies to use, and that we should really just be collecting this information. And of course, that is much more, doing that properly at a huge scale is much more demanding than I really had any understanding of at that time, coming from a biology background. And so we really started to fix that very specific problem. And I think that's really shaped what we've done. And I think why we've been successful is because we are really focused on very specifically helping researchers, initially just antibodies, and now find a range of reagents. So it means the tech can be really closely tailored to carrying out that process, but also the way we structure the data means that we can understand the reagents that we're working with and make sure the data is structured and the annotation is correct to present the information that researchers will expect to have when they're making those decisions.
Thank you so much, Andrew. Then I go to the next question, which is for Eefke.
Yes, thank you. Actually, my question is very much in the same context as Roger, but slightly different. I was also immediately thinking of other initiatives that I've seen in this space. So I have a very simple question. That is, who do you consider to be, let's say, your 2 or 3 main competitors in this space? And how do you also try to be different from them, not just in the quality of the information that you give? That's very clear from your presentation, but also, for example, in the way you market it or the business model that you apply.
Yeah, no, that's again a really good question. Actually, apologies, Roger. I don't think I answered the second bit of that one. That was also part of your question. And so I think there are other there are other search tools out there, and I think I'm thinking of like BioCompare is one of the companies that helps scientists find reagents. BenchSci is another one. What I think is really unique about us is, as you rightly say, is the quality, but the business model is also different. And what that business model does, because we're providing The search engine is free to use, so researchers, both commercial and academic, can use the search engine. And we generate income by, as I mentioned, selling data to the suppliers, which is based on exactly the same citation data. And that business model is really unique, and it allows us to keep the search engine totally unbiased and impartial. It allows us to really focus on the quality of the data, because the suppliers, really need high quality data for if they're going to be basing multi-million-pound investment decisions on our data, or if they're going to be showing the data to all of their customers and placing up the trust in our data, it needs to be really high quality, which means it's also high quality for the researchers. So that's a really, I think, virtuous circle that we've managed to build, and is one of the reasons that we've been successful. And again, unlike a lot of AI tech startups, we didn't start with a very large investment. We started with a very small investment for a very specific problem, and really grew based on sales, and were forced to effectively make a profit each year to reinvest that to grow the company, and that's led us to be really, really disciplined. So that's, I think, a few things. And then you mentioned marketing as well, which I think is also something that is really important, again, for a very small focused startup. Our marketing has been focused at reaching out to the suppliers and building those contacts, which benefits the company in many ways. And then the researchers almost don't need the marketing, because they find sites by Google, they use it, they like it, and they tell their peers. So all our traffic has grown in that way.
Super. Thank you, Andrew. I have room for one more question. Is there somebody? Yes, Phil. I see your hand.
Oh, hi, Andrew. Great presentation. Thanks very much. I was originally going to ask something quite similar to what Roger and Efka were talking about, and in terms of the fact that we've seen a number of startups with very similar models coming out over the past several years, to be honest with you. And I wonder whether you think that those startups who've tried this in the past were just ahead of their time, or if you know something that they don't, because what many of them found is that the market doesn't support that sort of model. But I wonder if this ties into the growth and interest there are of building a knowledge graph around global research infrastructure, whether you're taking an interest in things like RRID, for example, persistent identifiers for research reagents and that sort of thing. Do you see this as part of a shift? What is it that's going on that makes this relevant now that wasn't true before?
Yeah, I think there's quite a lot of that. I could give you the hour answer to that question, but I better not. I think Cindy will cut me off quite quickly. But one of the things that I think we did was, right from the beginning, we had a computer scientist, a biologist, and not just those two skills, but also a startup and tech scale-up expert on board as co-founders. And I've talked to some of the people that have run at previous attempts, and often they had one or two of those skills, but not all of them, or they had advisors, but they weren't totally embedded in the company in the way that we were. So I think that's one of the answers as to why we've been successful, is that range of skills, but also the timing is you're definitely right about the timing. The growth in open access, the improvements in people's ability in our clients' ability to handle data in terms of the suppliers that we sell data to is massively improving. Their desire and understanding that they need to be not just providing products, but providing really accurate information to their customers about how those products have been used in the literature also helps us. And we've definitely been part in driving that, because we've shown them how important it is. Where am I going with that? Well, I'm just thinking of the other points. So I think that timing is definitely, and definitely with the open access movement and the ability to get large amounts of text, combined with all the improvements in AI and all of just simple things like the ability to have cloud computing. It wouldn't be that long ago that we'd had to have had expensive servers, and of course, Cytab's never had any servers. So I think all of those things really combined, plus one of the other really big things, I think, is the pharma companies, probably, 4 or 5 years ago, really pushing this idea that actually a lot of life science is not reproducible. And that is, a really shocking finding, that the papers that were published at the time and looking into that. And of course, that's down to multiple factors. The fact that many of these very high-profile papers in Cell and Nature couldn't, and that pharma companies were basing their preclinical research on, couldn't be reproduced. And that's down to lots of factors, but poor reagent choice, poor understanding of reagents is one of those. So again, that's another driving force, which is, I think, affecting funders, affecting publishers, affecting the pharma companies themselves and researchers. So all of that has, I think, made this issue really important one to solve. And I'd also say, I think that there's still a long way to go with it. And RID, as you mentioned, is one of those initiatives as well, which is important. But there's a massive amount still to do on this. I don't think it's anywhere near solved, because it seems like a simple problem: find the right antibody or find the right kit. But actually, it's of course really, really complicated because of the number of different ways they're used. Thank you, Andrew.
I have to give the room now to Francesco, but I am very intrigued and I'm learning a lot from you. I want to thank you, Andrew, and your team for coming so far. Great that you are one of the 5 finalists, and I wish you luck with the rest of the journey. Very good that you are self-sufficient in your financial modeling. Really, really interesting. That is also a very strong asset to the startup. So great, and thank you for the jury members for the question round. We go now to Francesco with Piloxa. Roger, I still see you as well. Yes, Francesco, you are having you are presenting. We see you and we see.
And you should soon see the presentation. Let's see.
Exactly, it's loading.
Works. It's still loading. Let's guess. There you go. So now everything is on the.
Yes, we see you. Yes, cool. We see you. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Cindy. Hi everyone, my name is Francesco Mazzotta, CEO and co-founder of Piloxa. Thank you for joining me for this session. I'm taking the inspiration for this event, and on a high level, Piloxa vision is to be for digital health what was the printing press as being for books and publishing. So our vision, our goal is to enable much higher amount of innovators being able to generate knowledge and generate value in engaging patients and learning from that. So what we do is a platform that enables innovators to engage patients and generate knowledge around that. Piloxa was founded in 2015 in Stockholm. The 3 founders have experience in medicine, engineering, and entrepreneurship. We've been working since 2015 and still working in the company. Our platform has been used by global pharmaceutical companies and world-renowned hospitals in several therapeutic areas. And on a high level, what we offer is a possibility to create a tailored application to support patients in a few weeks at a fraction of a cost of what's an industry average, thanks to our tech, regulatory, and legal platform. With these apps, you can generate real-time data from the programs that you can use then to enable a fast app iteration based on the feedbacks, which means that you create a living program that engages with end users. You create as much more knowledge than what was possible before, and then you can use this feedback to generate as much value as possible for the patients. So in another term, the solution is patient-facing mobile application that can be built on a modular fashion. So there is modules to support adherence to medication, other ones to have a medicine list, other ones to support patient literacy with learning and smart triggers of information at the right time for the right patients. And this is just some of the functionality. Then all these information that you can it shows the patient's value can be summarized in program manager web interfaces, where you can see on a more granular level what is happening in real time, and this data can be used to actually improve the program and generate even more value for the patients. And for when it matters the most, you have a possibility to add on smart hardware. For example, this is our smart pill box, where you can put in each compartment, the patient can put doses for what is being taken at the same time, medication in that sense. And when the time has come, LED light will light up close to the compartment, and then if the patient takes the medication, that is sensed in real time, and they will get a smart reminder about it. So as you can see, it's a is a platform where you can have all the different pieces to make sure that the patient can get as much value out of their journey as possible through their treatment. So on another, like on the higher level, what we do is we give innovators the muscles of large companies and large companies the GDO startups. This builds on 3 pillars. The first one is that we offer a simple and fast model. So the pricing is transparent, and it's based on a free app prototype that is given before any commitment to give value at the start and see if we can provide that. The apps can be developed and delivered within 1 month instead of 15 months, thanks to our standardized documentation and pricing. And these enable us to get as much value of our patient-first pillar, which means that we develop patient-facing functionality constantly as a platform, and these will always be included in every program, independently on which pricing you get and when you started. So we want patients to get as much value as possible all the time, and there is no other way to do that than by enabling creativity, by giving our innovators all the tools that we can provide them. And this is coupled to accelerated learning. So once you have a simple and fast development, release, and pricing, you have all the patient functionality. What you need is that you need to full access to data and free reign over updating the apps in real time. So what you see, you have now all the tools you need to create unprecedented innovation. One example of this is a clinical trial we're running right now with the University of Oslo within atrial fibrillation, where we're actually testing our platform with some main features like real-time measurement of adherence from hardware, the behavioral smartphone app, patient training, disease location, to actually compare if we can improve adherence to and persistence to treatment in this patient group compared to the baseline on the registry. And this is just one example of the potential application, and it just gives the idea of which kind of knowledge we can generate with these tools. Thank you so much for listening, and I'm looking forward to your questions.
Thank you, Francesco, and perfectly in time as well. Great presentation. Yes, I would like to ask the jury to join. Okay, so I have here that I believe that Mickey has been preparing some questions as well for Piloxa. Mickey, do you like to ask a question? I'm going to put the microphone on.
Yeah, I cannot hear you. Now.
Yes, now we can.
Okay, good. So my question was more regarding the sort of the business model in terms of, you know, if there is sort of a paid monthly payment, how do they see the return on investment that would allow justifying the costs associated, and can it be reimbursed by whoever's giving them insurance on one hand, and the other is, are there any GDPR issues if it is sort of something that goes into allowing large pharma to manage trials this way and gain information about, you know, the patients in the trial and compliance and other things associated with use of the drug under development, and in that way, if there's any questions about GDPR that you have to deal with.
Thank you so much, Mickey, for your question. So there are basically it's two questions, and so the first one is about the pricing model and how it works for return on investment and reimbursement. So right now, what we decided is that we've been working end to end in the projects by doing patient interviews, identifying needs, building the mobile application and the platform, releasing that, implementing that, getting the data analyzed, and then just do everything there. Now, what we have done right now is that we have compressed our scope. So what we are doing is we're giving the tools for innovators to do the rest, right? So we give all the tools for everyone to do based on their needs and their interviews, create the platform, which means that we can afford a price which is unprecedented in the area. So right now we're speaking, we have a fully transparent pricing on the website, is 2,500 euros per month per country for the core, and 5,000 euros per month per country for the advanced for one therapeutic area. And the return on investment is, I think, is pretty straightforward in many therapeutic areas, given that the other steps are effective. So in that sense, I believe we have a really strong positioning. In an average, industry average is $375,000 for releasing an app and 15 months. So we're definitely committing on that. Regarding the GDPR aspect, what we do is that we have a fully pseudonymization of the data, which means that we separated the personal data with the clinical data, and that connection is never done outside our database that isn't fully encrypted. So basically, all the data that shows outside, it shows either in a grouped generalized fashion so that you can gather some non-individual connections to the patients, or is in a fully pseudonymized fashion, where the connection with the personal data can be done only on a clinic level for those that have the access to it. So that's our take on it, and we've been running it with local agencies for approval. However, as you were pointing out, this is something extremely new, and the regulations are picking up pace and actually driving the agenda. So what we found out is that it was much easier and much more open a discussion with the regulators than we're actually with our customers. So what I see right now is that it's actually the customer that are lagging a bit more than the regulators. The regulators have seen the potential; they're actually building the framework. The customer has to understand that actually what are the risks involved in it, and that it's okay. That it's okay given this framework to take that. So that's our own impression.
Very good. Thank you, Francesco. Thank you, Miki. Britt, is it correct that you also have a question to ask? We don't hear you yet. Can you put the microphone on?
I must unmute myself.
Yes,
now.
Thank you so much.
Yes, I was wondering, because I think I need to have this spelled out to me quite clearly. This pillbox thing. Usually, when you are supposed to take a medication every day, you have a pillbox marked with every day, and then you take the pills out and put them into your mouth and swallow them. Now, this thing that you have made, does it automatically record if the pills are removed from this box, or does the patient have to take the pill and then push something on the app, or how is this done in practice?
Thank you so much, Britt, for the question. I'll be running really quick through the presentation, so I'm really happy that I get the chance to speak more about it. So what we did is that there are sensors in each compartment that are measuring if a dose is present or not. So what we decided is actually, so to tackle adherence, you need to tackle all the different aspects, right? So patient literacy, and one of them is also helping out at the physical point where they're actually connecting with the medication physically. So this part of it is meant for supporting patients that actually want to be compliant, but they might forget to. So the pillbox we decide is completely unlocked, so people can open and close as much as they want. They can verify if there are pills and so on, and it's fully like discrete, so it's not going to beep and so on. So what happens is that the patient will fill in, we measure in each compartment in real time if there is a dose or not. And when the therapeutic window is opening, a LED light will light up close to the compartment. And if the patient opens the compartment and empties it, we measure that, the LED light turns off, the time of medication will be collected, stored, and sent to the mobile application, so then the patient don't get a reminder for that. So actually, our core and our start was adherence to medication. So we have built all this infrastructure to have sending the exact trigger, the exact time, having, for example, if you miss 2 doses in a row, to get some automatic messages and optionalities there to contact the healthcare provider. So that's the core part. What we have seen in the last years is that there is also value for projects that maybe cannot afford that expensive tools, or maybe for patients that already have routines to do it in a standalone application. So right now the pillbox can be used and can be used also for specific, as an example, time periods. to get the right attitudes, the right routines in, and then it can be reallocated just to save money and to save resources. So there is a lot of potential there too.
Thank you.
Have you tried it out on 90-year-old patients?
Actually, Scandinavian 90-year-old patients are kind of savvy. So right now, our oldest patient is 94, but I can see that right now over 70. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, we do.
Still.
Yes,
oh,
yes.
Good. Because it's so slow connection. But we have been trying in patient group with 70, 75 years old as an average, working without. We have some patients on 94. However, it is clear that it's not for everyone. But what you're seeing with COVID with the current pandemic is that the digital literacy for this easy application is going up. So usually we could see within the onboarding, like within the first 10 seconds, if someone is able or not. Yes.
We have room for one question, and I saw Shanti and Roger that both like to ask a question. Shanti, do you like to do nested knowledge, the next one, or Roger, which one do you like? Because one of you can choose. Roger, we don't hear you.
Go ahead, Shanti.
Shanti, you want to go?
No, my question was, you have a app which connects the doctors and the patients, but you're also having these peripheral products. So what is the focus in the upcoming years? Do you want to use the data that you are collecting via your app and make it more intelligent and AI? Or you want to focus on the peripheral product so you become a wholesome solution to the patients?
That's such a great question, Shanti. So what we're doing right now is that we're creating all the building blocks to create value. So it will be all these different modules that you can put together. Then innovators will be doing these programs, and they will releasing it, and they will get data about, does it work, what works? As an example, which article works best, at which point, why? And this knowledge will be generated and scaled. And all these insights can be used, then repurposed to the next people actually doing projects in some patient populations so that they can start for the best practice. So our goal is to create a knowledge database, then best practice tips and tricks, so the next innovators can actually start from a great point. And the base about it is that you need to have a good measurement possibility. So you need to measure interaction, you need to measure patient engagement, healthcare providers engagement, and then you need to have a robust way scale. So we need to have a lot of innovators. I think one problem today is that the solution that we have today, they are locking value for innovators, and they are locking it to just big players, which makes it a bit slow in creating that knowledge we want to create. That's why I was doing the analogy with the printing press. Like we want 100,000 people with a good idea and a good project to actually test something in a safe and a valid way, because then we can create that kind of system that will generate knowledge. So that's our idea.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Francesco. Thank you so much to the jury as well. It's about time to go to our last startup. Last but not least, we have Keith from Nested Knowledge to join us. Hey, Keith.
Hello, can everyone hear me?
Yes, we hear you, and we also see your screen with your presentation, so perfect. And the floor is yours. Enjoy the presentation.
To Karger for having us, really appreciate it. My name is Keith Kalmus. I'm the president and co-founder of Nested Knowledge. We are revolutionizing systematic review and meta-analysis. This is personal for me. Nested Knowledge is actually my third company, and I can still remember the first project I got in, first company I ever started, medical writing company, was a systematic review. And I remember running around my college library pulling physical books off the shelf. So we're here to change that. So in addition to driving clinical decision making by practitioners, systematic reviews are relevant to every stage of the medical value chain, from research and development decisions at biopharmaceutical companies and their regulatory strategy to reimbursement by insurers. Unfortunately, odds are if you're looking to the literature to have a question answered on a clinical topic, it won't be up to date. That's not for lack of expenditure. This is a vast and growing market. Just pharmaceutical med device and insurers alone spend, at least $10 billion outsourcing literature reviews alone. So what do they get for this? Well, in return for a 6-figure expenditure and 3 months of work by a skilled PhD, the end product is a static PDF with no way of verifying the accuracy of underlying data, no visual outputs, and no updatability. So usually these things are out of date the moment they are published. Enter Nested Knowledge. Not only are we much more cost effective and faster, but at the end of conducting a literature review or a meta-analysis in our website, you get an interactive, updatable, web-based, interactive visual output. And you can also do analytics in our platform, and you get direct database access. So you don't have to take the word of the author for it. You can check for yourself. So how do pharmaceutical companies currently leverage their systematic reviews? Well, most of these are outsourced, 80 to 85%, and they have 5 different departments, from health economics and market access to medical and regulatory affairs, and they're paying upwards of $7 billion for literature reviews per year in several different departments. They're not reusable, they're not updatable, they're non-combinable because they're not requiring their vendors to follow best practices necessarily. In a nested knowledge enterprise subscription world, all of these departments could be leveraging the same actionable library of clinical outcomes data through an interactive, queryable platform. All they have to do is require their vendors to follow best practices, and all that data is now combinable. So who utilizes us right now? Well, it's mostly life science service providers, so people who conduct these literature reviews and meta-analyses for pharmaceutical and medical device companies. They utilize it to organize, visualize, and analyze published clinical outcomes literature. Those device companies then utilize them for FDA interactions, CER literature reviews, health economics, dossier development, and we also work with a lot of academic clinicians and journal editors to build and publish these interactive web-based living reviews rather than those static PDFs. So how about government? We actually received an SBIR from the National Library of Medicine at National Institutes of Health, and alongside our evidence-based practice center partner, ECRI, who are sort of co-developing this with us. The FDA did a biocompatibility living review to be leveraged by medical device startups, which was super exciting for us. And this is a webinar you can check out on YouTube. So just a little bit about us. My brother and co-founder Kevin and I are serial entrepreneurs. I've never had a real job. I've been an entrepreneur my whole professional life. Our first company was a medical writing company. Second was a medical device company that actually started from a systematic review. We sold that to a strategic after commercializing 2 devices. Carl Hollab, our technical lead, is a former data scientist at TripAdvisor. We're advised by Tony Caniglio, a PharmD with extensive strategic startup and drug development experience. And the ECRI Institute has their chief medical officer, Dr. Dhirendra Kamala, on our board, who previously served in leadership roles at a number of pharmaceutical companies, including Baxter. So my ask would be, if anyone out there is in scientific or medical publishing and wants to move information production and consumption away from this static PDF paradigm and into the 21st century, please reach out, my email, and you can also reach me on LinkedIn. Thanks so much, and I'd love to take your questions.
Thank you, Keith, for this amazing presentation. Super time boxed as well, so perfectly done. Very, very good. Can I ask the jury to join us again for the last question round? And I would like to let Dan know. Dan, are you interested in asking a question? Is he with us still? I don't see him yet. I have Dan on my list. And who else do I have? Phil also has a question, and Roger. Roger, is it correct that you have a question here too?
Not yet. Let's have someone else go first.
Okay, Phil, do you like to ask a question?
Yeah, it's like I have actually a couple of questions, but I'll just do one so other people get a chance. So in the original presentation that I saw from you guys, in the original pitch deck at the beginning of this process, it seemed to be pitched as a regulatory requirement to do a systematic review prior to marketing a medical product. Is that the way that you're still thinking about it? And another part of that is, have you worked with meta scientists to figure out how much better your approach is, or whether it's as good as the traditional approaches? And if so, are there a broader group of use cases that this could be applied to?
That's a great question. So yes, we are thinking about it differently from just regulatory requirements. The reason that was the pain point I was trying to solve is, like I mentioned, I came from med device. I got regulatory clearance on a medical device that we proceeded to market. And a huge pain point was, okay, when this submission goes in, I need an up-to-date literature review to support it. And the literature changes all the time. So, you have one delay that pushes you back a month, and all of a sudden you have to redo your review. So that was the original way we thought about it, because that was where I came from. But absolutely, there are a lot more pain points than that. There's the, even just within med device and pharma, there's the health economics market access, which is exploding, as a lot of markets like Germany will require you to evaluate the add to patients or society before you're allowed to market your therapy, and pricing is actually based on that. So that's really a growing field. Clinical trial planning, synthetic controls, is really big right now. And then also like common data elements, just making sure you're collecting information that's similar to what other therapeutic, devices or drugs on the market are collecting, so that you can compare them. All of that really comes down to literature. So absolutely, we're expanding that. Regulatory is still a really key component of what, a systematic review tool would be, improving. Second question. Can you remind me again, Phil? Sorry.
The second part of that was about whether you've worked with meta scientists to understand.
Yes, great question.
Whether it's as good as traditional methods or better than traditional methods. Can you quantify it? Can you give us evidence that this is a better way of doing things?
Absolutely. If we were at a 10-minute presentation, I would have gone into depth on our evidence-based practice center partner, ECRI. They've really been instrumental in helping us craft this tool. They utilize it internally. They are a federally funded evidence-based practice center that does reviews, not just for FDA, but for a lot of government agencies. And they did analyses on, how much quicker it is to review upfront, and it's like, 30 to 40% more efficient upfront. But I think the massive value add comes on the back end in terms of updatability, where it's almost no work to keep a review updated. Whereas, you can look at the graveyard of attempted living reviews, like out of 200 and some, like 10 are still being updated, because it's basically double your work to update it, right? So that's where I would really emphasize the time and effort savings is in the updatability. They also looked at coverage, and this using the tool does result in a more comprehensive meta-analysis, if you will. So in addition to being, faster and less effort intensive, it also is a more comprehensive methodology than using the traditional, like Excel and Word methodology.
Good, very good, Keith. I had the question from Dan, but Dan is on and off with us, so maybe something wrong with the connection. Is there somebody else who likes to ask a question to Keith when Dan comes back? Eefke, yes.
Could I just ask something?
Yeah, please.
Yes. Because I've been wondering, you maybe have answered it during your last answer, but I'm not quite sure. Because usually when you do a systematic review, it is conventionally done in a very specific way, illustrated, for instance, by how the Cochrane systematic reviews are done. Because each study to go into the review has to go through a process of evaluation by a team of experts. And this evaluation of the studies going into the review, how does your system manage that? And at which time in the process is the normal process thought to be replaced by your system, or does it take over the whole thing? And how is it done?
That's a great question. So I would say we're a workflow software that's assisted by ML and NLP, right? Everyone loves talking about AI, but they forget that experts should still do expert level work. So that I just want to say that out front. Absolutely, the way to do a systematic review is to enable experts to do expert level work. We are a workflow software. All of the Cochrane review steps are embedded in our workflow software. I guess the best way I can summarize it is we took the brains of meta-analysts and library scientists and put them into a web-based workflow software. When it comes to where the time savings come from, like I said in the last one, it's really in the updating that most of the time savings come in. But I would also say, when you're doing a Cochrane review, you have to, be building your Prisma diagram as you build it, right? So there are a lot of things you're required to just note that you're following best practices, and nested knowledge just takes the whole administrative burden off of your hands, and that alone is a large time saving. It's also a collaboration tool, right? So if you're doing a large review, it will manage all of your, for instance, dual extraction, right? That's best practices. You need one reviewer to review one study, another reviewer to review the same study, and then if there's disagreement, third-party adjudication. In nested knowledge, all of that administration is done for you. All you have to do is say, yes, I would like to do dual extraction or dual review. So you'll notice I didn't say AI a single time, because you're exactly right. This has to be done by experts. We want to make the best use of those experts' time, is how I would summarize it.
Thank you.
Good. We have room for one quick question. Then you are back, so that's good. Then, do I need to read your question because I have it here, or do you have it on your screen?
It's great if you can read it, because I don't have it on the screen. I have delivered it on a form yesterday evening.
Yes, okay. So it's about medical guidelines that they provide recommendations. Although they are not legally binding, they provide decision making that is generally followed. In the case of nested knowledge lends a different, even slightly different recommendation based on its enhanced systematic review approach than the guideline. How do you protect yourself against liability?
That's a great question. So the nested knowledge software is not making any recommendations. It's experts that are utilizing our tool to make recommendations that, where the buck would stop in terms of legal liability. We're just making them more efficient and effective, and then distributing the information in an updatable web-based form. So, I don't think that Adobe would be held responsible for what's published in a PDF. Same with us. We're just a medium of collaboration and a mode of distribution, if you will. So we are not making those recommendations, and all of our machine learning and NLPs are there to aid the experts. It's not there to replace experts.
Very clear. Okay, Eefke, you also had a question. I do have a little momentum for you if you really are keen on asking the question.
Well, I have a very simple question. I remember that that nested knowledge was in the shortlist also last year, and I forgot the reason why you didn't make it, but you're back in this list. So first, congratulations for that.
It's good to be back.
But my simple question is, what have you learned since then, and what makes you so much better than you were then?
I think what we learned is that user experience matters just as much as the engine of your car, right? The the interior matters just as much as the engine. And we had built this super powerful engine, but looking back, it was not a joy to use. And we, did a total rehaul, and we've actually, over the past several months, been putting most of our efforts into making the platform really enjoyable to utilize. And we've seen our engagement skyrocket, right? So it's the same tool. It's just, beautiful to look at rather than jarring. And it's easy to use rather than inscrutable. So that's what we've really learned, is like, make your thing enjoyable to use, people will use it. It doesn't really matter how powerful the engine is if no one wants to sit in your car.
Very nice. And also be resilient, right? If you don't make it the first time, keep trying, because you will make it the second time.
I don't want to share with you how many times we applied for SPIOs.
Oh, okay.
We got one, but it was a lot, but we got it.
Oh, very well done. Thank you, Keith. Thank you for your enthusiasm, your great presentation, and yeah, I'm wishing you success with the next stages.
So much.
Super. Well, that was our last presentation from the 5 startups. Time flies when you're having fun. So I would like to ask to get the rights back from my screen. I think I can even do it myself, can I? Oh, here's Cindy Spelt, organizer me.
I just want to say goodbye to you. I have to run to the
okay,
to the city symposium that I'm chairing there. So thanks for this excellent session so far, and I hope you have a good negotiation the next hour. See you.
Thank you, Dan, and thank you for your enthusiasm as well, and all the great questions that you've sent us. Thank you so much, and have a nice evening.
In case I sometimes had to remove my webcam, I had to change my clothes.
Oh, that's better with camera off. Yes, thank you for that. Okay, for the rest of the people joining us that are still there, I'd like to thank you all. It was a great afternoon, and you can see all the hard work that has been done by everyone. So the startups, the jury, a big thank you as well to Karger Publishers again, and also the people in the background, Sylvan and Nadine, making this also all possible. We can meet up again in the networking lounge, and I would love to meet you there. There, the startups are here with us, the jury members, but also the attendees that are watching can then come and chat with us. If you have any more questions, or if you like to partner up with Karger Publishers, you see here the email address. Sorry, the email address. And in the chat, I was thinking about that. In the chat, you will see the link to WonderMe. That's where you can join. And now I have to tell you that from my side, I have to say goodbye. Thank you for all that enthusiasm. The final broadcasting here is now over, and we love to meet you in WonderMe. Thank you so much. Wishing you a great rest of the day, and hopefully see you next time. Bye bye.
Thanks, Cindy. Bye-bye.
Thanks.